Hey guys, this is John here in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. And we're going to start with Hawker Alderson's Yggdrasil deck. This is really a character deck for the Norse Pantheon. Today is Surt, the Fairy Wraith. He's kind of like the Lich King, or the Night King, or Death, really. If this isn't death, I don't know what is. The Fairy Wraith, Surt. Pretty sweet. And today we're doing Conan 247, which, interestingly enough, is very much a mirror version of yesterday's, which I suppose I should pull out. Because the covers are actually pretty much like too. Got this monster, Conan, Sonya, and no one in the foreground. But in this one, we have another character. This one is about the magic sword. Conan is not a fan of magic swords. He's not a fan of magic of any kind. Magic is cheating. Here you've got a wizard in crimson. This guy with the sword, Sonya, Zula, a monster, and Conan. And in terms of, now, okay, so yesterday it was almost like Sonya was the lead character, but we started off with, this is a little bit different, okay? So instead of riding into town, this is a history lesson. This is a flashback a couple thousand years to where this town is being siege, where this town is under siege by this massive army. This is an army flowing into the town, like Troy or Ilium in the Iliad. If you guys haven't read the Iliad, it really is the best first book. It's the only work of art where the first one is the best. It's never been topped. It can't be topped. It was 800 years in the writing. It was a oral story before it was a written one, but it's still the world's first novel, and it really is the best one. It's historical fiction, and Ulysses, the next one, is fantasy. What did you call it? Not sci-fi fantasy, but sword and sorcery, really. And the first one is historical fiction. The Iliad is historical fiction with the gods overlaid on top of it. Here you have these guys invading this town, and the wizard locks himself in this tomb. He and all his acolytes. And the northern hordes, the Hyperboreans, can't break in. And the wizard drinks this special tea that puts him to sleep forever. He doesn't even show up again in this issue, which is a little weird. Here's where he gets the tea and drinks it. And then he orders all his disciples to throw themselves into a well, commit suicide. While he turns his snake into a staff. And the bad guys sack the town, eventually leave, and Zula wakes up, and basically that whole story we just saw is Zula's nightmare. So that's a little indulgent. It's a different sort of indulgence than last time. Last time we had Sonya spare a child, and then that child came back and tried to kill Conan, and she ended up killing him. This one's a little bit different. This is Zula has a nightmare, but the storyline is the same. Conan and his crew are offering their services to another sort of city-state king or prince. And this time they're captured, taken captive, as always. Almost every issue, Conan throws a sword and finds himself in a prison cell. This time, there's a net thrown on them. They're ambushed, a lot like last time. They fight their way through the ambush and then are gassed, so they are still taken captive, gassed by this wizard who actually knows Zula. Sorry. Yeah, so this is him throwing this gas canister. Mysteriously, they just get Conan, Zula, and Sonya. Then they're brought before the king. This is a really nice one page right here. Again, this happens every episode. They're taken captive. In the James Bond sort of moment, the bad guys have an opportunity to tell you what's going on. It's exposition. It's an opportunity for exposition. You need a break between the fighting for the bad guy to tell you who he is and what he wants. This is just a different version of the last one. The last one, they were fighting for the city-state king. This one, they're still offering him their services, but they end up fighting his guards and him. And he's got this magic sword. He's also got a demon. Yeah, here's the demon. This giant, huge-mouthed demon. See, in a comic book, you can do anything. You don't have to show pretty girls doing their laundry. You can show pretty girl fighting in a steel bikini. Conan pushes this statue onto the bad guys if his sword won't beat them. Basically, this guy's sword melts through everybody else's armor and weapons. So here you see Conan loses his sword and has to throw it away. On the cover, it's got like Doctor Strange radiation, you know. I read a lot of Warhammer. I listen to a lot of Warhammer. I'm on book number 25 or 26, Vulcan Lives. And that one, they're chasing a fulgurite spear around, and the spear is obviously radioactive. It burns basically everyone who gets close to it. This one, Brotherhood of the, I don't remember what they're called, the bad guys, does some ritual to it, and it powers it up, and it burns a whole bunch of people. So this is not so different. Conan fights them with this massive statue, and this is kind of funny. I caught this. So over here we have, once in a while you see this, but this is as bad as it gets, right? This is John Bissett, no, Roy Thomas and Gary Hartle. And the biggest thing that goes wrong is the wrong guy says Crom. Conan is wearing the blue outfit. The Stygians are in green with the dark skin. The wrong guy says Crom. Otherwise, this is, this is as good as comics got. I was listening to someone else talk about how he is a unique character. He really is. And look, they did every permutation of every story you can do. The last one was a single episode story. This one gets a little stretched out in that Conan, in the end, is about to, basically the same as the cover, only in the end he's on his back. He's even less defensive. He's not even aware. He's not even awake. He's basically unconscious. So they've done almost every permutation of every story you can do with this character. That's no reason not to write him. I'm sure Jim Zub is doing a good job. I don't want to dive too much into reviewing new comics, even though I have done some CG stuff, and I'm going to do Something is Killing the Children. I'm doing this more about what can we learn from comics. So when I do something like review Wrecked Planet first before Blood Honey, or when I give, another book like Revival, the second issue, I was really offended by. I almost took it personally because this means a lot to me, because this opportunity to do this means a lot to me. I haven't been burnt out on it yet. So when I see people throwing that away or abusing it, yeah, I get frustrated. But it's none of my business. I have my own. Yesterday I didn't even mention it. And I do want to talk about the next chapter in Legacy of a Mad Scientist. So after Ashley busts this kid's nose with a headbutt in the playground, word gets around the school really fast. His name was Ted, I remembered the other day. He was one of Jeff's friends, Ted. And they had taken his book bag away, and they basically, 3 kids were playing keep away and pushing him back and forth. And Ashley went over there and picked up his bag, and at the same moment, one of the bullies went to pick it up, Steve Shepard, and she deliberately headbutts him, breaks his nose. She sees it coming and breaks his nose. She can do that because she's had a lot of dance training and she's very gifted in that she hand-eye coordination, and she's also a little bit ruthless. So she's willing to go break a bully's nose over nothing. And none of the teachers reprimand her for it. That's really chapter 1. Chapter 2, there's a couple prologues. Chapter 2 is her in dance class. They get a few hours of spare time before dance practice, and Ashley uses that time to practice in the theater by herself. And the other girls sort of hang out in the dance studio, not really practicing, more like gossiping and, blah, blah, blah. But Ashley practices for 3 hours. And so when she shows up right before practice, they kind of ritually have some snide sort of comment or remark to make about her. She thinks they don't know that she practices in the theater. They pretend they don't know that she practices in the theater, but everybody knows. And so they basically see her as a try-hard. And yeah, she's good, but that's just because she's elite and a brat and try-hard. And they make fun of her being a try-hard because she lives on the ground, whereas they and most of their friends live on the floating anti-gravity panels that make up the elite neighborhoods. What would basically be the hills, in a city. You want to live on a hill in case it floods. And so, the only thing better is to live on the shore, if you can afford that in Malibu. But then you better have a house on the hill because, lots of problems living on the shore. And they make fun of her. And she kind of talks back, but not too much. I mean, she's not afraid of them. She actually challenges them. They make fun of her for beating up Steve Shepard. And she says, "Do you really think it's a good idea to make fun of me then? Do you want some of the same, essentially?" And the teacher comes in before the other girls have to get into, we're not savages. We don't fight. That's, for boys and for lower class people. So they don't have to go that far. And then the teacher has a conversation with her about what friendship is. After class, the teacher asks her to stay behind and tells her that she's going to need friends. It's one thing to be good. It's another thing. You can't just be good. You have to be good and you have to network. You have to make friends. Your skill, your self-esteem comes from your skill, but your reputation comes from your friendships, from other people watching you struggle and watching you improve. So that's how you build your reputation. Other people talk you up. If you talk up yourself, no one wants a blowhard is one step short of a bully. A person who's always talking about how great they are, their next step is to tell you what you're doing wrong. And that's a bully, essentially, which is what I've done on this channel a few times with newer comics, and I don't want to bully anyone. So that's why I kind of want to stick to old comics, especially new comics on old characters. It's one thing to do a new comic with a new character and to see something new and I want to know what Cyberfrog is. I want to know what Starlight Cats is. I wanted to know what all the hype around Dino King was and is. And I love the idea of a were-dinosaur. That's fucking genius. I don't think it was developed as far as it could have been for 60-some pages. But, you know what? Dude, he did it on his own. I fucking mad respect, right? So, anyone doing it on their own, it's hard. It's to draw. I've been coloring a bunch of the angels that we're going to use for trading cards the last few days. And Jay is a much faster, better artist than I am. And he's mastered Clip Studio now. So Clip Studio has a really good smoothing tool for the pen. Apparently it's in Photoshop too, and I've never learned it. Also, my problem is, so I had a Syntec. I bought one back when they were $3,000. One of the big ones with the big heavy back. You can't put it on your lap. It's got a hinge in it so you can turn it a little bit. But I don't like drawing over the image with the Wacom tablet. What I really I like the big old Wacom tablets where you can't see it and you draw here and you watch on the screen. And I'll tell you why I like that. Because I have total control of the zoom and I can rotate the picture. The Syntec, I can't rotate it. It's too big. I suppose I could rotate it in Photoshop. But the other problem is being able to zoom and rotate on the picture, like the keyboard. I like being able to do it on the keyboard itself. So it's really good for coloring. It's really good for flatting, but I'm not getting the pressure sensitive controls out of this stylus, which is, I suppose, a trade-off. And I prefer penciling by hand. And if I can learn to ink with the right amount of smoothing in Clip Studio, I'll have all those steps. I also have to learn how to light properly, how to shade the light. I really want to learn how to cross-hatch shading properly. I know how to do it for animation shading. I know how to do it for sort of fine art feathering, sort of grayscale with a smudge tool, and then come back in with a white pencil. I can do that. But I want to learn cross-hatching. That I really want to know that. The blacks. I want to be able to make it look great in black and white, like Savage Sword. That's my goal. And a lot of that is balancing foreground silhouettes, midground character, background silhouettes. I have to learn how to do that. And that's about shot setup and composition. And that's where you're being a director. You know, it's the same in animation. I love storyboarding. I love doing that part of the job. That is really rewarding to me. I have no voice today, apparently. So, Cert, Wraith of the who? No, it's not Fairy Wraith. It's the Fiery Wraith. Cert, the Fiery Wraith. So the last one was Muspel, the Fiend, the manager of... the Lord of Misfits. Last one was Muspel, Lord of Misfits. And this is Cert, the Fiery Wraith. So he is a fire demon. It's fucking awesome. Hakir Halderson. They're definitely getting better. Please check out our audiobooks, Legacy of Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox. They're really good. Best thing I ever did in my life. Comic book is really good too. It's out here as a PDF in the description. Ashley Fox Ninja Babysitter. And it's the episode is called The Last Valkyrie. So, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. More Conan probably. See ya.